Live from London, it's Car-Boyz! Yes. Hello.
Oh,
Hey, that would help.
There you
Turn the
are.
video. We are back. Hang on, there we go. And we're still socially distancing. I promise you, Simon is not in the room with me. He's in a lovely gaff in North London, a salubrious penthouse apartment, and I am in my mansion here in southwest London. We are back like a proverbial bad penny, or the coffee stain that just won't shift. Yes, after a nuclear winter, all that will be left are the cockroaches and this show, unfortunately for you. The car show now on your screens in amazing Panovision or something like that returns with another episode that is jam-packed like a London bus before the coronavirus. In fact, as I was writing the show yesterday while drinking a Corona beer, which I thought was rather apt, if not a little decadent, drinking on the job, made me feel like a 1970s newsreader. Anyway, that aside, we've got a packed show for you this week. I'm going to be asking you, where have all the spare tyres gone? And I'm not talking about my gut. I promise you it's still there. We have a great quiz for you this week on the show. We've tackled it before, but not with pictures. We return with the ever-popular quiz, Name That Badge, hosted by me, Bradley Walsh. Not really. We all know the blue oval means Ford. The prancing horse, of course, means Ferrari.
Right.
And the diamond of Renault means you're probably on the side of the road waiting for a tow truck. We will see if this week's lucky contestant knows his Chevys from his Cortinas in the quiz. We're also going to be taking you to exotic locations in Lost Highways. And talking of a man from an exotic location, namely Edmonton, North London, here's Simon. Is it very tropical in Edmonton today?
It looks a bit, it's like the jungles of Southeast Asia. Sweaty with a risk that you could get shot, because that's what it's like on the streets of North London. It's going to be a great show this week, as Richard mentioned. We'll have all the fake news that isn't fit to print in the news. We'll be answering your questions and queries in the mailbag, which of course is bulging. And we have an amazing vintage vehicle in our classic car selection. This week, it's a 1980s Lotus Excel.
Wow, lots of trouble, usually serious.
Yes. So sit back, relax, breathe deeply in and out, and get ready for 60 minutes or so of mayhem. I'm Simon Sujuwan, Top Cat, the indisputable leader of the gang. He's the boss. He's a VIP. He's the championship. He's the most hip top Top Cat.
Simon Sujuwan there, who of course is a big fan of a little pussy, aren't we all? And I'm Richard Green, and I'm the king of the swingers. I'm the jungle VIP. I've reached the top, and I had to stop, and that's what's bothering me. I want to be a man cub. I want to stroll right into town and be just like other men. And I'm tired of monkeying around. Ooby-doo. I want to be like you. I want to walk like you, talk like you. Ooh. And that's my version of the Origin of the Species by Louis Prima, as opposed to Charles Darwin. This is Car-Boyz.
Car-Boyz.
Time now on my show for my weekly rant. It's where I ascend the show's soapbox that's been cleverly placed in a Hyde Park area of the studio. I complain about the rights and wrongs of society as pertaining to cars, motoring, and the road, and just general traffic. This week I'm turning my attention to the spare tyre. Now, as you can probably see from me and Simon for the pictures before you, we are in glorious Technicolor. We are both retaining our spare tyres. As I said to my wife the other day, more cushion for the pushing. And she, of course, is a black woman from the 1950s Mississippi and looks after a cat called Thomas.
Thomas?
No, seriously. I'm talking about the fact that most people watching this podcast, if they own new cars, do not, and I repeat, do not have a spare tyre. I'm old enough to remember the days when you carried a spare wheel that was exactly like the other wheels on your car. It was great because you'd often replace it with the wheel in worse condition on your car, maybe a chipped alloy or a rusted steel. Well, then we got the introduction of the Space Saver, which meant you could get to your next destination, but at a much slower speed than before. And you had to supposedly get your tyre punctured again, or repaired again, I should say, ASAP. Now, I know, although folk who've driven on the road on a space-saving wheel for 6 months or more, or maybe a year or so, there's a guy opposite me that's had a space saver on his car, I think, for 2 years now. Now, this was, of course, all to do with saving space in the trunk of your car or the boot, and absolutely nothing to do with manufacturing companies making cheaper and cheaper cars and shaving off so many margins that they're almost selling you a faulty vehicle, he said, with an air of sarcasm. Now, of course, for the last 10 years or so, many new cars are being sold without even a space saver, let alone a proper size wheel. The last 2 cars I bought had just a tin of tyre weld and an awful electric pump that plugs into the cigarette lighter. Now, I'm sure I don't need to tell you, as soon as you inject a tin of tyre weld or some other puncture repair gunk into your wheel, if it's gone flat, that tyre is completely toast. You can never save that tyre. If it's a small hole on the side that could be patched, too late, buddy. It's crud. Your tyre is completely written off for life. I was talking to my father, who has a very small, or used to have a very small ride-on tractor that didn't go much above 10 miles an hour for mowing the lawn, and he put a tin of tyre weld in it, which I think worked for 1 mowing of the lawn, and then the tyre completely sort of wheel ate the tyre and just rubber was everywhere, and he had to go and buy a new wheel. And with a new tyre, he'd be better off actually repairing the tyre in the first place. Now, the 2 reasons I'm focusing on the complete lack of spare wheels in our lives. The firstly is I had a colleague with a flat tyre at work the other day who had to call out the emergency services. Of course, she had no spare or even a space saver. She was charged the right royal price of £156 by the breakdown guy for a new tyre, as opposed to 65 if she'd been able to drive to a local tyre fitter. Now, the second reason I'm focusing on spare tyres, as opposed to my own spare tyre, is the news that Skoda have decided to introduce a rather interesting new option on its Scala and Kamiq SUVs, namely a scooter. And I did say scooter, a small micro scooter. Now, this will cost you an extra £120 option. However, if you choose one, it means you can't have a spare wheel with your car because the scooter storage compartment is in the wheel well, where the spare wheel's supposed to go. So now, not only are big manufacturers, and let's not forget Skoda is part of the VW group, the biggest, one of the biggest companies in the world producing cars. So they're not supplying you with a proper spare tyre. They're not supplying you with a space saver. They're not even supplying you with a tin of tyre weld and a crappy electric pump. Where does that leave you? Well, potentially stuck in the middle of nowhere with a flat. Even if you can get someone to come out to you, then they can fleece you of all your cash, replacing something as simple as a flat tyre. Now, with the coronavirus pandemic affecting absolutely everything, car recovery organisations like the RAC, the AA and Green Flag have all reported increasing waiting times for those people who have broken down. Not having a spare tyre will make you wait even longer. And what if it's catastrophically destroyed, the tyre and the wheel? You're going to have nothing to put the tyre on. Then it's good night Vienna for your journey. On off to the local garage you go and wait for a new wheel, which potentially could take weeks. But, and like Beyonce, it's a big but, to save yourself a lot of heartache, why don't you do, well, to save yourself a lot of heartache, do not buy this new Skoda scooter, because I imagine that won't help you and your 4 family members get home from a holiday in Cornwall, will it? You won't all fit on the back of that with suitcases. Instead, just go down to your local auction website, down to your local breakers yard, and get yourself a used space saver or a used spare wheel. Doesn't have to be the same size wheel. If you've got 19-inch spinners, your space saver could be 14 or 15 inches. You just need the same bolt or stud pattern. I've got a Honda Civic space saver in my Honda Accord, same bolt configuration, whether it's 4 or 5 or whatever. It will get me home. Cost me £30 on eBay. The thing has never been used. It's got the original factory stickers on it. And to my credit, I have to say thank you to my local tyre fitter, Stephen, for giving me this info. In Stephen's words, people are crazy if they drive around without a spare wheel. You are at the mercy of the world. And he knows his business because he used to fit tyres to Mike Reed's car. Mike Reed, comedian, not Mike Reed, not the Radio 1 DJ from the 1980s. Any thoughts on that one, Simon? It was a bit of a long rant this week.
I posted on our Facebook group earlier on.
Yes.
So I've got a R56 Mini, the 2nd generation one, and it has no spare wheel. Originally, I think they were fitted with run flat tyres as well. And the problem with run flat tyres is they're stiffer, so it makes ride more choppy, handling not as good. So I'm one of those at the mercy of tyre weld.
The problem is with the run flats, and I had run flats on my BMW, is they're supposed to run flat, and they sort of do, but It's the weirdest thing. I had a flat on the M25, but I didn't realise I had a flat. I could just smell burning rubber. And when I got home, it was like the tyre, well, it was sort of leaving little tyre poos all along the road. It was slowly just getting destroyed.
Yeah.
And then I looked in the handbook and it said, you're not really supposed to be doing more than 40 in this. And I've been doing 70 miles an hour. yes, officer, on the M25, thinking, how dangerous is this to me to be doing this speed? And there was no warning on the car. It was a 2013 car. There was no warning anywhere saying, oh, by the way, you do have a flat.
And that's the thing. If you can't really tell that usually if you have a puncture in a normal tyre, the steering goes a bit heavy, something like that. If you're on wrong flats, you can't necessarily tell
that it's
you've
flat.
got a puncture.
Yes.
Hence why you could be driving up to 70 miles an hour in this country.
Yes, indeed.
On the motorways.
Unless I was on the Autobahn. I should have said I was in Germany the other day, driving my BMW in a Bavarian Motorworks vehicle, doing 110. But anyway, that aside, yes, I just think it's crazy. I think companies are greedy buggers. I think the margins have got so short in the motor industry that they won't even supply you with a spare. I used to laugh at folk that used to have, do you remember the cages? And now they're coming back. You had a cage underneath your car for the spare tyre. And I used to laugh at those cars because you'd get the spare off and it would look awful. It would be pitted. It would be rusted.
Bulges.
Yeah, it would be, no, you've had this sitting under your car. And the only cars that you used to see it on was Range Rovers because they had nowhere else to store the car. But even my 1990 Ford Escort had a nice wheel well where the spare sat full-size spare. I don't mind. So the route I've gone down, I was going to buy a second-hand alloy, and then my tyre guy just said, "Look, just buy a space saver. Then at least, if I break down, I can get the crappy jack out. I can probably just about do it myself. Get the wheel off because the jacks are crap that they give you with cars as well. You really need a trolley jack or a bottle jack, and at least you can get on your way and get to where you're going. The lady at work had to wait 48 hours for the guys to come out to put a spare on.
Yeah, and the problem with mine is even if I had a space saver, it wouldn't fit in the boot of my Mini.
Ah.
Well, okay. The boot is tiny in itself, so I can't even fit a space saver.
You could put it in your passenger seat and have a friend. Or what about bolting it to the top of the car? And it looked like you're going on
style.
Yeah, you look like you're doing Dakar in a Mini. Should we have some news?
Yes, let's have some news. And first off, this week in Meet the New Boss, same as the old boss, we're talking about a new generation, not my generation. Porsche reveals its 8th generation of the legendary 911 Targa with the hair-tangling 189 mph top speed on the Autobahns and a hair-raising £100,000 price tag.
Nice.
The latest version of the legendary 911 has styling cues that hark back to the original 1965 Targa with its removable roof section above the front seats, billed as a safety cabriolet. The German performance car maker's new version of it for 2020 goes on sale to order today ahead of first customer deliveries in August, but buyers will need deep pockets. With dealerships set to open on June the 1st, allegedly, subject to sufficient progress combating the virus, the 14-19 virus, and click and collect services already in place outside showrooms, the 911 Targa 4 version is priced at £98,170, and the beefier 911 Targa 4S from £109,725. But whereas the original Targa top required some manual dexterity to remove and store the central roof section, the new car does it all automatically at the touch of a button. I'm not quite sure where they'll put it. The 911 Targa 4 is powered by a rear-mounted 3-litre flat-six engine with twin turbochargers delivering a thunderous 385 horsepower, an increase of 15 horsepower on its predecessor. The second option is the Sport Chrono package, It will accelerate from 0 to 62 in 4.6 seconds, which is 1/10 of a second faster than before. Keep your foot planted on the de-restricted roads like the German Autobahn, a racetrack, or a drag strip. It will carry on up to a maximum speed of 180 miles an hour. The average fuel consumption under the new real-world WLTP system, which I'm not quite sure what WLTP means, is a thirsty 25.9 to 26.9 mpg. Not that 911 and Targa buyers will be that concerned about economy, with CO2 emissions being between 239 and 247 grams a kilometre. The more powerful 911 Targa 4 with the same 3-litre V6 uprated to 450 bhp, which is an increase of 300 horsepower on 30 horsepower on its predecessor, and accelerates from rest to 62 in just 3.6 seconds with the Chrono Sport package, 4/10 of a second faster than the car it replaces. I do like the name Sports Chrono package.
Didn't we see one of these in Berlin about 18 months ago? And it was an old. It was an old one. I was just going to
say that.
It wasn't this. This is the oldie 60s one, which is absolutely gorgeous, and really, you'd give your high tea for that, wouldn't you? Yeah. This is the new one. It was probably in like a late 90s, early noughties one, and people were still going up to this car and like schoolboys were ogling it.
I'll have to. I think I took a picture of it. So yeah.
Yeah, we'll have to put that on the website.
I'll post that,
probably the most successful design 911 of any sports car on the planet.
Yeah.
Long may it continue. And you can slag it off, and you can say, "Well, I think it's really boring." But that does what it says on the tin. And I tell you what, there is not one person that's going to spend £100,000 that gives a toss about how much emissions come out of the back. They don't give a toss about it. I'm sorry, you can try and convince me, they bloody well don't. Right, and when can I buy a new motor, John News?
Hello, John.
Who was that? Was that Alexis Sale? Hello,
it was
John.
Alexis Sale.
Got a new motor. Car retailers among the first wave of non-essential businesses apparently at the moment to open in June. All dealerships will face a government inspection to prove they're safe. They're never safe. They're full of car dealers. Each showroom will have to prove they've got new measures. I went in there with lots of money and I came out with a shit car and none. Each showroom will have to prove they've got new measures to allow for social distancing before being allowed to open their doors to customers. Round of spot checks will take place after the 1st of June to ensure guidelines are followed. Car showrooms are among businesses forced to close since the end of March. Insiders claim there are pent-up demand for new vehicles, while many brands have shifted their operations online to allow customers to order new motors on their website. Many drivers won't be able to take the financial commitment until they've had their hands-on experience with the car they want at a dealership, which I was going to say that's 99.9% of people. Yeah. I've been known to go into dealerships just to check out cars that I'm then going to go and buy secondhand. Showrooms, I'm now going to have to wear a moustache and a fake nose when I go in. Showrooms will also be subject to random spot checks during the ease-down measures to ensure they are continuing to comply with government instructions. I don't think that's going to happen. They can't even stop people at the airports in this country. New guidelines should be put in place as soon as it's practical, says the Department for Business, Energy and Industrial Strategy. Okay, a mask, gloves, and wash your hands, and you'll pretty much be okay. Wet wipe the car as well. That's what I do. We all love the smell of a new car, not so much the Corona-19 repercussions. I had my car, I didn't have it. I had new brakes put on my wife's car the other day, and I just used wipes afterwards on the interior. I did feel like a murderer who was trying to get rid of evidence.
And of course, if you can't smell new car smell, then you may have COVID-19.
Yeah, you may have Corona-19. Talking which,
yes, in coronavirus finally did us a favour news. Parking charges in city centres could be waived to tempt communities off trains because we're being told get off public transport and into our cars.
Yes.
The BT British Transport Secretary said this week. Grant Shapps told the UK that they have a civic duty to avoid public transport amid fears that social distancing will prove impossible uncrowded carriages. Mr. Shapps revealed that in a bid to convince people to use their cars instead, we're working with local authorities and large entertainment venues with large car parks that aren't being used at the moment. His announcement came after London Mayor Sadiq Khan had threatened to run fewer buses and train services over the summer before being handed a £1.6 billion emergency fund to protect the capital transport network. TfL, or Transport for London, has been expected to restore 75% of bus and train services this week, and 95, which is about a 95% drop in footfall during the lockdown, has seen it burn through cash revenues. Now, we don't normally get too political here.
No.
But I don't fully blame Sadiq Khan, because the government did shaft him. They said the law says that he has to have 2 months' revenue in reserves. And
right.
Obviously, these 2 months, they've been cut down. So went to the government, can I have some money? And they said, yes, you can, but you have to have it in a form of a loan, which means you have to pay it back. Therefore, the way to make the money back is congestion charge has now gone up from, I think it's £11.50 to
£15, yes.
It's now extended from, it used to be till 6:30, I think.
Yeah.
It's now 10, and it's going to be Monday to Sunday.
Yes, yes, all week. Because I used to drive into the very centre of London, just as they introduced the congestion charge, which is about 20 years ago. I had a job where what I used to do is wait on the outskirts, and then if you know London, you'll know now I've forgotten the name of the road. Not the Westway.
Clearly you don't.
I know I don't. It's the A40, of course, the A40.
Yes.
So you know the A40 where it goes past Madame Tussauds and where it goes past Regent's Park. I used to wait there, right at the top of Great Portland Street, and at 6:30, and I had to be in work for 7, and then I could drive down Great Portland Street and park in a resident bay, which again I could do after I think 6, so I didn't have to pay the congestion charge. Yeah. So these days, I mean, look, plenty of people in central London have to drive into central London. Plenty of people in central London are broke. Their businesses are failing. I like Sadiq Khan because he kept the bus prices down for us for quite a few years, and he's meant that it's cheaper to get on the bus, and I do use the bus. But he should have gotten rid of it. He should have kept the congestion charge still. He should have got rid of that, and he should have made parking free in central London. That's what they've done in Australia. That's what they've done in lots of countries. They've scrapped all the parking charges. They've furloughed, or hopefully killed, people that give out parking tickets, those nasty little bastards. They are horrible, horrible people that give out parking tickets. That's what they should have done. They should have opened up London, said, yeah, we're open for business, come back in. But they've done completely the reverse. So people will still get on the trains. I've got friends that work in offices in central London that's having to go in on the train because there's nowhere for, they'd happily drive in, but it's in the congestion charging zone where the broadcaster they work for, and they can't park on the side street. I think they had a week or so during the lockdown where they were working. It was great. I could park outside the offices. I could go in and do my job, come back out. And there's nobody else around. Nobody's driving. There is no congestion. I can't stress the congestion charge is a joke. There is no congestion. A journey that's taking me over an hour to do is now taking me 15 minutes because there's nobody on the road. So I think, yes, in my personal opinion, I think he has been shafted by the government, but I also think he needed to do more for the people that pay the wages of his wages, and certainly fork out for his £90,000 Range Rover that he uses as an official car. Yeah, it's not a 1986 Volvo, is it? Right, moving on. And in vacuum cleaner salesman loses some money news, billionaire inventor Sir James Dyson said he's lost $5 million of his own money on an abandoned project to build a groundbreaking electric car. Dyson's eponymous technology company established a Dyson automotive division with 500 staff and a commitment to invest $2.5 billion, I did say billion, into technology, including an electric car project. Development began in 2014, but October last year, Dyson scrapped plans for the car, which had been due to launch in 2021 because he didn't feel the project was commercially viable. We did report it on this show. Dyson and his family topped this year's Sunday Times rich list with an estimated net worth of 16.2 billion, an increase of 3.6 billion from 2019. So he's only lost.
It's a lot of vacuum cleaners.
It's a lot of vacuum cleaners he's got to sell, as well as confirming that he'd lost $500 million on the abandoned scheme. Dyson said that the 7-speed SUV, codenamed N526, had a 600-mile range and could achieve 0 to 60 in 4.8 seconds, the top speed of 125 miles an hour. Probably also said it could go to the moon and go underwater, because never going to make it now anyway. Speaking about the project, Dyson said, "I don't have a fleet. I've got to make a profit on each car or I'd jeopardize the whole company. In the end, it was too risky." And you need to show you what I'm doing here. I'm playing the world's smallest violin for the billionaire who lost $500 million.
And of course, he moved all his head office out of England as well.
All his corporations got moved. Yeah, he moved everything. He moved his head office out of the UK. He moved his manufacturing division first to the Czech Republic. Then he moved it to Malaysia. Then when Malaysia became too expensive, he moved it to China. So there's not much commitment to British manufacturing. And I hate to tell him, if he is listening to the podcast, nobody will remember Dyson, because he doesn't care about this country. Nobody will care. He's not going to leave a legacy. When he dies, that will be it. It's just another rich MF who wants to get...
Michael Fish.
He's just a rich Michael Fish who bleeds this country dry and puts nothing back into it. He even had the gall to say that he was investing in technology and research and development. And he did for a while in this country and then moved it to Singapore. So not our favourite person. That's it from the news. Shall we have some classic car selection?
Yes, let's have some music.
I'm just letting them out the basement. Here they come. Yes, in the corner. You could set up there. That's it. I've got Dizzy Gillespie, John Coltrane, and the ghost of Miles Davis. Fantastic. Off you go, boys. Here they go.
Nice.
Oh, yeah. Thank you. Right, back in the basement. There you go. Thank you. Sorry.
Don't forget, coming up later on, we have the letters, Lost Highway, the quiz. But first, this week's classic car is a largely forgotten Lotus, looked down upon by some because it was largely a rework Eclat. We are talking about the Lotus XL, which was produced by Lotus Cars from 1982 to 1992. It was an interesting time for Lotus in the 80s. DeLorean collapsed, which of course Lotus had an involvement in some of their contract work. The death of Colin Chapman, and they signed a deal with Toyota to work on their Supra. Toyota, therefore, subsequently bought a stake in the company. Under this deal, Lotus got to use some of the mechanical components. The XL, or the Eclat XL, borrowed the transmission, drive shaft, differential, and even their alloy wheels from the Supra. During this 10-year life cycle, the XL received 2 upgrades, although this was cosmetic to refresh the look. The body was made of injection molded resin. And incidentally, the black trim around the car, which you can see around there, was to use to hide the 2 parts being joined together.
Yay. British engineering.
Lovely. It was all mated to a steel galvanized chassis, which meant that the body was quite rigid, with a perfect 50-50 weight distribution, and given the excellent handling that all Lotus cars were known for. Power was delivered by the Lotus designed 2.2-litre 4-cylinder engine, which was naturally aspirated. Early on, this was good for 162 bhp, but midlife, this was boosted to 180 bhp, thanks to mostly internal revisions. It may have lacked performance of its bigger brother, the Esprit, but perfectly embodied Colin Chapman's philosophy of simplify and add lightness. If the Ford acronym is fix or repair daily, Lotus has been plagued by the phrase of lots of trouble, usually serious. That's what it means. However, the rule is simple. If you find a good example that's been well looked after, you'll find a performance car bargain. So, what do you look for? Don't be put off by the loud engine noise and road noise, because of course this is a sports car, but Lotus was known for skimping on sound insulation, which you can fix if you want to and just bung a whole load in. As with most 1980s Lotuses or Lotus, the main problem is electrics. Gauges often wonky donkey. However, a little tip: check the pedal box area because this was usually the place where all the electrics were earthed. Parts are quite easily sourced. The rear lights, for example, let's see if you know this. So, where those rear lights come? I'll give you a clue. If I do that, you might know where the rear lights come from.
Was it like a Rover SD1? Oh no,
it was a Rover SD1.
Oh, was it? Okay.
The front seats were from a Jaguar
BL Ford parts bin. BL Rover parts bin.
The front seats were from a Jaguar XJS.
Brilliant.
And as I said earlier, some of the mechanical parts were borrowed from the Supra. Rust is obviously not an issue because it was made out of plastic, but check for cracks in the plastic. Hiding in the shadow of the Esprit means that resale values are quite low. So what should you pay for this 1980 Lotus? £6,000 will get you a reasonable example, but I looked online today, found a blue 1986 C-Reg example with plenty of work carried out on it, such as water pump and timing belts change. You could pick that up for $7,995. So for a Lotus, £8,000 for a Lotus is not bad. I do like the look of them.
I do remember hearing that the one to go for is the naturally aspirated because the turbos had a habit of blowing up. And of course, if you get a white one, then you can pretend to be Roger Moore in the what was the movie? It's Spy Who Loved Me.
Oh no, yeah, with the fins coming out of the
when he comes out of the water with a lovely Russian lady having. I think he also gets you prove the build quality of the car wasn't very good because as the car comes out the water, he winds down a window and throws out a fish out of the window. So obviously a few leaks there on the old Lotus, which is strange because as they get old, they are also full of water. That's another thing to check for with this car. If it smells of damp, walk away because that car is leaking badly. I've seen a program. I think the Wheeler Dealer guys did one up a few years ago, and it looked relatively simple to work on. It's a really nice looking car. It's not these days. The problem is 180 bhp. It is not the fastest thing in the world. I mean, most saloons will outgun this, but still pretty looking car. You want a weekend car? I would say that was the one to go for.
Yes, because of course the Esprit, which is the bigger version of the Lotus, more expensive and came with V8 engine, so that's going to cost you more money. And that's not what classic car section is all about. It's about finding an affordable classic car.
We're going to come back next week with another classic car selection. I think it is time for Lost Highways. So the band are back in. They're in the corner. A little bit of country and western, I think, this time.
And we'll provide the hoo-ha.
Yes. Yeah, time now on the show for the classic car selection. This is where our listeners email in and give us their favourite roads and the reason they love them. It could be a coastal road that leads down to the sea. Sorry, I'll just turn the band off. They're annoying me. And jazz band in the house for like 2 months. It's a nightmare. There's just heroin everywhere. It could be a quite coastal road that leads down to the sea. Alternatively, it could be a straight 2-lane blacktop that leads to infinity and encourages you to gun the pedal to the metal. Whatever your poison, let us know your perfect driving road here at Car-Boyz. There are the emails. We are on email car-boys@outlook.com. Facebook, car-boys, boys always with a Z, at Car-Boyz with 4 Zs at the end. Twitter, car-boys, at car_boys with a Z. And I believe we're Instagramming too, aren't we?
Yes, it's car_boys with 3 Zs. Incidentally, FB on that stands for Facebook and not something else. I'll tell you later.
I've led a very sheltered life. Bertie in Keswick, up in the Lake District in England, emails the show. She's a Mancunian. We won't hold it against her. But she's lived up in the lakes now for 10 years. So she's been adopted by the North Cumbrians. She says a great driving road is the A686, Hexham to Penrith. I sort of know it. Reaching Hexham, the beginning of the route, is a wonderful drive in itself, especially you leave the M6 at junction 40 at Penrith. Now, that's the bit I have done, and it's very quiet up there. You snake up the A686 to Alston towards Hayden Bridge. 12 miles after Alston, the route properly begins with a right-hand turn, the B6305 to Hexham. Here, just a couple of miles south of Hadrian Wall, and if you haven't been there before, take the brief detour north to Chollerford and then onto the Military Road. Now, from Hexham Town Centre, go through the B6306 through Slaley Forest, and then Blanchland Moor. Beyond Blanchland, the route continues to go past Derwent Reservoir. If you want to visit the pub, the Rough Guide to England says some of the best eateries around there. Apparently, there you go. Then turn left onto the B6278 at Edmundbeers, which leads to the Manor House Inn. So that's obviously the pub to go for. The route, have about 8 pints and go back in the car. You'll be fine if you're drinking Foster's. North along the B6295. Don't drink and drive, kids.
No,
along the East Allendale, then Allendale Town. That's worth a look round. And then a short run to the B6295. I feel like I'm having a conversation with my father here. And then take the B6295 towards Langley and the junction with the B6305, then back towards Penrith. This really is a great drive. Beware the dry stone walls, she says. She says because if you come off, you're going to go plough into a dry stone wall. 60 miles in total, the route. The roads are as quiet as they are thrilling. And the landmarks, in course, are Hexham, Hadrian's Wall, Derwent Reservoir, Hexham Common, Allendale, and the North Pennines. I have driven up there towards Penrith years ago now, probably about 15 years ago. Very, very quiet. Beautiful roads. The roads past Manchester because there's nothing up there. There's no traffic. It's fantastic, and you actually find yourself slowing down because the scenery is breathtaking. As you're almost in the lowlands of Scotland. Some breathtaking scenery around there.
I shall try that one. Staying in the north of England, Carly emails the show. Things that were not too vain.
Excellent. That's true.
Carly.
Why not?
Carly's one.
I've never walked into a room thinking it was like a yacht either. What about yourself?
She says, a fantastic drive is from York to the coastal town of Bridlington, and it's a great drive. She's covered it a couple of times with her husband, who is a Yorkshireman.
Oh, but some boring conversations there, isn't it?
Flat cap. Before leaving York on the A1079 sign for Hull, Sparrowford, someone who's covered many a mile when horsepower involved nothing more than sophisticated forelegs and a nose bag. Highwayman Dick Turpin was hanged in hanged or hung? Yeah, hanged.
It is hanged, isn't it? Yeah, you hang.
Yeah, it is.
You hung.
Yes.
Yes.
Hanged.
Hung would be meat.
In 1739, and was buried in St George's Churchyard. Joined the A166 on the city's outskirts and head for Stamford Bridge, not the Stamford Bridge in Chelsea. A road laced with seductive curves soon dashed up as the western edge of the Yorkshire Wolds to the A166's junction with the B1251, which takes us to Sledmere. Veer left and follow the B1253 over the gently undulating Wolds.
I hope you're taking this down, viewers.
Rudston. There will be a cheat sheet at the end of the show where Britain's tallest prehistoric standing stone, which is 25 foot, towers above the village churchyard graveyards. Keep your eyes peeled on the outskirts of Bridlington, where the route goes from left along the A156 and then right on the B1255 at Flamborough and Flamborough Head. Return to Berlin, a bustling holiday resort built around the neat little harbour, and follow the sandy coastline towards the Hornsea and turn inland following the B1244 and A1035 to Beverley.
Hello, Beverley.
Beverley. Just beyond Polklington, turn left to Sutton upon Derwent, and right the B1228 heads to the York.
Yep.
Yes, but there's one more treat in store because the old RAF base at Arlington is the one where the Yorkshire Air Museum aircraft are, and they include the last Hadley Page Halifax bomber, and a collection dedicated to Barnes Wallis, who, if you didn't know, he was the guy that created the bouncing bomb in 1943. Arlington can also claim to be the fastest place in the country because it's where the British land speed record was recently hosted at over 300 miles an hour by a car with a Rolls-Royce jet engine. Was that the one Donald Campbell? Was it? Did we do that one, or was that up in Scotland?
You're asking the wrong person. I don't know.
Oh, okay. But anyway,
somebody broke a record.
Yes. Distance was 115 miles. York is usually busy, but it's generally light elsewhere. You can see York Minster, the Rudston Monolith, and the Flamborough
Canberra.
Head,
Mm.
Flamborough Head, and Beverley Minster, whoever she is.
Lovely girl, Beverly Minster.
With her whippets
Yeah.
and flat cap.
Oh, lovely girl. Well endowed. You want to get your favourite driving route onto Lost Highways, you can email us car-boys@outlook.com. Facebook, I want to find out what FB means. Car-boys with a Z at Car-Boys with 4 Zs. Twitter, car-boys with a Z at car_boys. And I really need to put the Instagram. We're Instagrammed as well.
That's good. Car_boys with 3 Zs and looks something like that.
That one. What? Oh, okay, cool. Like a shiny mobile phone. Fantastic. Yes. Now, it's that time in the show where we open up the correspondence and we delve into the scary world of the bulging mailbag. This week, once again, it's fit to burst. Great, this jazz band. They do medieval music. All of it royalty-free, though, which is what we want.
It reminds me of Trumpton, that one does. Always reminds me of Trumpton.
It is a bit Trumpton. Just with somebody winding the titles. Pew, pew, Barley McGrew, Cuthbert Dibble, Grub. Clever Trevor's written in to the show, says, hello, boys. Clever Trevor. I'm liking the show. Not a lot, but I like it. Obviously, a fan of Paul Daniels. He said he's just inherited a garage full of junk from his uncle who's passed away. I'm sorry to hear that. His uncle was a petrolhead and owned all sorts of cars, Jaguars, Rovers, even a Bentley at one point. He got rid of most of them over the years, but Trevor thinks, or he knows, there's a Jaguar E-Type at the back of the garage covered in junk. Is it worth keeping it or selling it off, says Trevor. He would love to restore it, but what's he looking at cost-wise? Right, well, we've got a picture. Blown up.
So this is Ilford. It's not quite a barn find, but it's a garage find.
It's a garage find. So it's covered. So I think his uncle probably went, well, that's the one that's worth the most. He's packed it away in probably 1982. And it's sat there. Right. If it was an ordinary Jag, if it was anything else, I would say get rid. Sell it as is if it was any other type of Jaguar. Even the Mark IIs, which are gorgeous cars from late 60s, early 70s, get rid of it. But this is special. This is an E-Type. Now, we love our Jaguars in the UK. Now, looking at this picture, I reckon he's got an engine and 4 wheels in there. Now, the costs will be what sort of condition this thing is in. If it's a super rare version of this car, you could be looking in excess, when it's renovated, of £100,000. But like J-Lo, there's a but, and it's a big but. How much money have you got in your pocket, Trevor, to chuck at this? New roof on this is going to cost you £1,500, and I reckon, and that's a soft top roof. The soft top roof, £1,500. A new bonnet or a new hood, £1,200 for a replacement. There's the engine, there's the labour. This is going to run into hundreds and hundreds of hours of labour. I'd say, this is just a guesstimate, including paintwork, you're looking at £30,000. But hey, you may have a car that's worth 100k. So I would go to an independent Jaguar specialist and get a quote. I mean, even if you are handy, Trevor, and you really know what I'm doing mechanically, there's lots of stuff that you won't know how to do, like bodywork. And you're going to need if you want the good money, you've got to chuck the money at it. The other thing is to check out Eagle cars. Now, what Eagle will do is take this and they will revamp it. They'll pull out the engine. They'll put a new engine in. Yeah, completely update it. Disc brakes all around. I've got a feeling this had discs at the front. They'll put a new gearbox in it because I don't know if the gearboxes in these things were moss. And it's like to quote a Jaguar owner that I knew, it's like trying to stir a scuttle of coal with a spoon.
Nice.
They're 19, I think it was moss gearboxes in that. Now we found, depending on what he wants to do, we found a rolling shell, which is worse condition than this, on the internet. 1963 E-Type. for £17,000. So that might be the easiest thing, is just to get rid. But, and I'm looking at it now, and I don't think there's any rust on this thing. I still think he's looking at 30,000. But it could be a project. It depends. Minimum 10.
And if you decide to keep it as well, what a beautiful car it would be.
Fantastic. Fantastic car, especially as it's free. So have a look in your wallet, see how much you want to spend. And, you know, maybe you'll be rolling around, certainly not this summer, but maybe next summer in a new car.
Let us know how you get on.
Yes.
Meanwhile, Alex in Washington, D.C. says, hi from the US of A. I know you guys are English, yes, but I'm thinking of buying my dad's old Lincoln Mark 8. Great looking car, super low mileage, 56k. What do you think? Now, if you haven't seen one of these before, Lincoln, of course, is the luxury brand of Ford in America.
Yeah.
And Rich is showing a picture there. It is two-door as well, isn't it?
It's a coupe.
Coupe, yeah.
They're very much a Marmite car, like the last of the old Ford Scorpios over here.
Oh yes.
They look amazing. Big Mustang engine, rear-wheel drive, luxury interior. One of the last big American coupes, because after this, Lincoln went off and made the Navigator. But they were famous for making big luxury coupes. For, you know, it's a middle management, top management car. It's a little bit of a granddad car. The electrics can be a problem. There's a rear brake light on this thing that runs all the way across the boot. When that breaks, it's almost impossible to get a replacement.
Really?
Yes, it's really hard. Now, the big thing on these things was the air ride. The air ride was crappy, so most people change it to get conversion kits to a coil and spring strut suspension, much more reliable. These cars are cheap, low mileage model. I had a look on the internet in the States. It's going to cost you $10,000.
Oh, that's
but just make sure, and that was with the suspension replaced. But yeah, big old monster of a car. I'm not sure insurance wise, but I think it's worth a punt if he can get it for maybe $5,000 off his dad. Obviously, you know, car. Family rates and all that.
Absolutely.
Well done, Alex. Tracy in Southsea says, hi, love the show. A fan of all things Italian, including pasta. She's owned a number of Fiats, currently driving a Fiat 500 Bath. Ooh, look at that sexy thing. That's nice. She says she's always owned Fiats. She used to have an old Fiat Uno that rusted from the bottom up, as they all did in that period. I'm thinking early 90s. She lives by the seaside. Is there anything she can do to prevent rust on her car? Maybe some underseal. Modern cars don't rust like old ones do.
You can. I've known some people to sort of put a wax coating underneath.
Okay.
I know with the old sport car, which used to rust from the inside, lots of people used to coat the underneath with a wax sealant, which stopped a lot of the rust.
Okay. Years ago, back in the 70s, my dad exchanged an old Mercedes W123 four-door for a new big white Fiat Saloon. And after 6 months, he was putting some luggage into the boot. And where the car aerial was, it was this. He noticed rust. Then he noticed rust in the boot. He sold it soon after. Modern cars are a little bit more rust-proof than they were back, and I think he went back and bought another Mercedes W123.
Wise move.
Yeah, I would say, look, you're by the sea. You've got no choice. Cars by the sea. It is. You can taste the salt in the air when you're by the sea. If you're lucky enough to have a garage, I'm trying to remember the lady's name. What the best thing to do is try and keep it in the garage when you're not driving it. Oh, I'm destroying my camera here. I'm causing all sorts of trouble. Apologies. Yes, it was Tracy. Thank you, Tracy. Make sure you're washing it regularly. Waxing it, try and wax it every other month. Make sure you scrub the undercarriage, especially around the wheel arches. If you get the ocean on it, if you are driving down the seaside, I can't think that you're going to do burnouts in this sort of thing on the sand. It'd be a waste of car. Wash it off immediately. And if you have got a garage, make sure the garage is ventilated and or heated, preferably heated, so the car is not sat in a cold garage wet. The trouble is, you live by the seaside. It's almost going to be impossible to get rid of all sort of rust. But the good thing is, you have a modern car. Modern cars do not rust like they used to. I had a Fiat Panda. It rusted from the outside in. My cousin had a newer Fiat Panda that they galvanised, but they only galvanised the outside. Her car rusted from the inside out.
Oh dear. Finally, we have an email from Karen in Cardiff. And she has a dilemma. She has 4 kids, but can't work out what car to buy. She only has £3,000 to spend and needs a car to get 6 or more people in it for school. Nice. Football practice and trips to the tip. What should you buy? So obvious choice would be some kind of people carrier.
What would you think?
I would usually go, I'm always a Ford. Well, I would say I'm always a Ford man, but yeah, Ford Galaxy is pretty good. They've got the Focus C-Max, which I think may only be for 5. So yeah, MPV. So Galaxy is probably the better way to go.
I think my uncle has a Galaxy, and there has been. It is a 7-seater. There's been a lot of us in that car before, and his has covered it. His has got rust around the wheel arches and everything. He doesn't care about it. He uses it for towing a caravan. So it really has been abused. He said it is reliable. I was just thinking, my brother-in-law has a Kia Sedona diesel.
Oh yeah.
This is a monster of a car. And again, he is not a carer of cars or anything. He just likes the fact that this doesn't break down. It's perfect for hauling kids and stuff around. He's got a lot of children, a lot of dogs. His wife has a lot. My sister-in-law has a lot of family members as well. It goes. I've driven it. It goes quite fast. It's a 6-speed. Really? Yeah, okay. It's a 6-speed. It's a lot. I mean, it's not going to last forever. But think of this like a McDonald's meal. It does what it says on the tin.
For a short while.
Yeah, I mean, you're never going to love and cherish this car. It's not going to be like that E-Type we were showing earlier on. We found a 2009 model, 61,000 on the clock, 2 owners, good condition, full service history, for £1 under £3,000. This is not a car you will love. This is a car that will do what you need it to do. And when you're finished with it, you will throw it in the bin like a used wet wipe.
To the wolves.
To the wall. Goodbye. So that's it, really. So if you want to get your emails into the Car-Boyz, you can. We are car-boys at outlook.com. Facebook, I'm really dying to know what FB means. Facebook, car-boys with a Z at Car-Boyz, 4 Zs at the end. Twitter, car-boys at car_boys. And check us out on Instagram. Are you ready for the big quiz?
I am ready.
I'll just get the band ready. They're just setting up. Here we go. Time now for the big quiz. Oh, you just texted me what FB means. I feel such a boomer. Of course it means Facebook. A full-time boyfriend. Time now on the show for the weekly car quiz, where we ask some tough questions to a lucky contestant in the hope of taking some 10 minutes or so up of the podcast. I'm being honest here. This week I should be attempting the dual quiz master. Shall we attempting to channel the dual quiz masters of Alex Trebek and Chris Tarrant in my attempt to ask the big questions in What's My Badge? Now, we all know car companies are often known by their badges on the front of the cars. If I say to you Blue Oval, you would of course know I was referring to the Ford logo that adorns their motors. And as we all know, the acronym of Fix Often and Repair Daily. Simon will love that one. Alternatively, if I showed you the symbol of a flaming sun, you would, of course, know I was referring to the Chinese car manufacturer of Honky, as opposed to the other famous racist Chinese car builder, Goddamn Cracker. This week, we welcome a young lad fresh from his back garden to his attic. It's Edmonton's finest, after Bruce Forsyth, of course. It's Simon! Hello and welcome to the quiz, Simon. The crowd
Hello.
are
Yay. Fantastic. Looking forward to this.
That's both our audience. So, how are you anyway today? Are you good?
All good. Just getting a suntan in sunny Edmonton.
Super, smashing, great. Yeah, that's the first time that phrase has ever been said, isn't it? Now, is there anybody you'd like to say hello to at home?
I'd like to say hello to Bob Hoskins, who I think was also born in Edmonton.
Really?
Or went to school in Edmonton.
Are you going to have to be using a medium, I believe,
yes,
to
I will do
contact
that.
the late lamented Bob Hoskins? I heard a story, actually. Bob Hoskins was originally from St Albans, so not really so much of a Cockney as he portrayed in all his movies. But especially Roger Rabbit. I think it's American.
Yeah.
Okay, are you ready for Name That Badge?
Yes.
Then let's begin. I can give you a clue if you would like one. Here's the first one coming up. Name that badge.
Oh, that looks like, let me make it right. It's an American one. It looks like Chevrolet.
Chevrolet, of course, the badge that's modelled after a bow tie. So Pee Wee Herman's car then. Moving on, correct. Chevrolet. Moving on, we're staying in America. And this is another famous brand from the land of the free and the home of the brave.
Oh, that looks like, it looks like a Ram. So I'm guessing it's a Dodge.
You are correct. The Americans are nothing if not literal in their car badges. Of course, the Dodge Ram. They came up with the brand in 2010, so to make it feel rugged and tough, although the car still felt a bit like wet newspaper. Moving on. This should be an easy one for you.
Oh, it looks like Super Suzuki.
You are correct. Say arigato to Suzuki's S logo, the company famed for small 4x4s and, of course, motorbikes.
Yes.
And I believe the Samurai, which was a lovely 4x4 that used to tip over. My wife once went one in the French Alps, and she said it was the most scary experience of her life, going around corners on very sharp mountain passes as the whole Suzuki Samurai did this.
I think they all flipped over, including the Vitara as well.
Fantastic, and the Jimny. Right, here we go. We're back stateside. Where is this?
I'm going to take a guess on because I'm not entirely sure, but I think it's Cadillac.
You are correct. Cadillac, named after the Frenchman who founded Detroit, Antoine de la Monte Sieur de Cadillac. Not so much of a cheese-eating surrender monkey, America? There you go.
And I'm wearing Detroit today.
You are. You're dressed in Detroit's finest. Fix off and repair.
Thunderbird.
The Ford Thunderbird. Fix off and repair daily. I think that was the days when they did actually used to make cars that were quite solid. Here we go. Moving back towards the Far East. Can you identify this badge?
Ooh.
I can give you a clue.
Can I have a clue, please, Bob?
The clue is it's a Korean Chevy.
Oh, Daewoo?
Yeah, that'll be the Daewoo. Correct.
Okay.
No longer in existence, now been eaten up, I believe, by the Kia Hyundai group.
Yeah.
Doing well so far. Bendy Bull is safe. You won the microwave. You won the dartboard. You won the cuddly carving knives. And so far, it's 4 out of 5 out of 5. Right, moving on. Back stateside now. Can you identify this car brand? What's the car brand this is of?
It looks like, again, not 100% sure, and our American friends could correct me, Pontiac?
You are correct. White man speak with forked tongue and steal name of tribe. It with the logo and the was originally the head of a Native American for Pontiac until that was deemed too racist, and now it's an arrowhead. Pontiac was the answer. There we go. Named after the Pontiac tribe. 6 out of 6. Well done. Give you another. Not enough cowbell. Okay, I can give you a clue. This one's a little harder. Staying stateside. It's not William Shakespeare.
No, it does look like Stephen Fry with a moustache.
Yes.
Bibble. Clue, please.
Before you ask, it's not the famous car brand King Philip of Spain, but it is named after a Spanish explorer.
Spanish explorer.
You might struggle with this one. They haven't made these cars really, I think, since the 50s was the last time they made these models.
No, I'm not going to get that.
Okay, yeah. It's named after the Spanish explorer Hernando de Soto, former Chrysler brand of De Soto with a conquistador's head on the front. I think that in the rear, it used to light up as well. They had a glass. Where the face is here, I think, was made of glass.
Looks quite evil.
It does, doesn't it? Certainly would not pass health and safety these days. That would impale some small child on it, wouldn't it? Okay, one wrong.
Okay.
Return to the land of the rising sun. And this one you should be able to get, although it does seem to resemble a London Underground sign.
Yes, that would be... Oh, let's be careful now. It would be Nissan?
Yes, it should actually... it should be actually written like this. That's, of course, how it should be written, the Nissan badge, yes. Because, of course, Nissan teamed up with Renault a few years back, and Japanese build quality cannot be linked to this brand, famed for its Z range of cars when it still could. Okay, so so far, 7 out of 8. Moving to question 9. Here we go. Back in Europe with this one.
Oh, did you colour that in?
No, I didn't. Looks like I really photoshopped it very badly.
Oh, but it looks like the new style Fiat badge.
Hey, you're correct. It was Fiat, of course. Famed for its small, rusting microcars and the ability to sell machine parts to Russia to make a much stronger car. It's everybody's favourite spaghetti munchers, the Italians and Fiat. Fantastic. And finally, so far, 8 out of 10, 8 out of 9. Question 10. This one you should be able to get quite easily.
Yes, it looks like a Volvo badge.
It is, of course. It may look like a no entry sign for London Underground or a necklace as worn by Austin Powers. Yeah, baby. But it is, in fact, the logo for Swedish brand whose mantra was boxy but safe, driven by every antique dealer and soccer mum. It was the Volvo. So 9 out of 10. You are going on that Caribbean cruise which starts tomorrow. It's the Corona cruise. You've won that. Your bendy bully is safe.
Fantastic.
That's safe. Can you, though, identify this famous car logo from the land of Cathay, or as President Trump would say, China? Now, this car brand's been around for quite a while. You just have to identify which one it is. Can you identify this car brand?
I can't remember the letters. It's the Chinese BMW. It's something like...
How dare you say? Nothing to do with BMW at all.
BZ.
Do you know what? I'm going to give it you. It's B... I had to write this down. I've forgotten what it was. It's a BYD.
Oh, BYD.
And in no way does that resemble the Bavarian Motorworks company whatsoever. That does not... look at all like that, does it? Not at all. Of course, BYD. Famous Chinese car group BYD, since a court case in Germany, strangely, the logo has now changed. Yes, strange that. So well done. You've got, we'll give you 10 out of 10 for that one. You got the bonus right. You got one wrong that was a bit hard, and it was a car, but from long, long ago. So well done. You are off on your cruise. You're going to be all on your own in a room. With a gas mask on for 14 nights. And then, of course, when you come back into the UK, you must also self-isolate for at least 14 days as well. So that's going to be a fun time for you ahead, as it is for all of us. Thank you very much for tuning into the show. That's about it from us this week. Get in touch with us. Please email us, Facebook us, Instagram us. I love the fact I've worked out what FB means. This show is nothing if not educational for the presenters as well. That's about it from us. Thank you very much for tuning into the show. Take care, and we'll catch you next time on Car-Boyz.